Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Be Healed Webshow. That's right, it's Be Healed night. I know so many of y'all say Taco Tuesday. You know how we do every week, but this is Be Healed week. It's Be Healed day. It's Be Healed Tuesday, right? It's our web show day. I am your host, Camille R. Perry. So happy to have you. If you are watching on Facebook, please make sure that you share to your friend. Invite somebody to watch with you. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for coming to YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and you can make sure you see all of the episodes. I mean, there's even some things that you might see from Be Healed Conference. I mean, just dig in. Like Tabitha Brown says, Auntie Tab says, get into it. All right. So I'm so happy you all are with us on tonight. I'm elated to talk to my sister, my friend, my girl, Miss Aysia T. Brown. I'm going to do a small introduction and I'll just keep raving about her as we get into our conversation. And if we talk about the marathon continues. But let me tell you a little bit about Miss Aysia T. Brown. Not only is she a wife, not only is she a mother to two beautiful daughters, she is highly educated. Sister girl got it going on. Okay. She recently served as the director of judiciary affairs at Mount San Jacinto College. That's where her and I met. She's now in a new director role at Chaffey College. Actually not for the district. Is it Chaffey? Is it Chaffey? It's probably even Chaffey. It's probably San Bernardino district. I don't know. We'll ask her about it. But I can tell you one thing. She's a director. She's making Yes, where the money resides. That's her. Yes. And so for diversity, inclusion, and equity. And so I'm so excited. I'm just so happy for her. And my admonishment to whoever watches this, share it with a young person, because oftentimes people feel like you have to be over the age of 30, over the age of 40, over the age of 50 for you just to take off for your career to be blossoming and growing. No, if you make good decisions while you're in high school and even in college, the world is literally your oyster. So with all of you that are tuned in tonight, go ahead, drop in the chat as we welcome, send some claps, some hearts as we welcome Miss Aysia T. Brown. Hi, sissy.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. This is amazing. This platform is beautiful. You are a professional. You're giving me Oprah, giving me beyond her element. Okay, I'm here for it. Love it.
Thank you. Because I was like, did she go to Chaffey? Where's she at? She's where the money resides. That's what I
know. I accept that abundantly, right? That's
right.
Where I always want to be. I'm in this space now where I'm concentrating on accepting unapologetically the things that I want for myself, and wealth and abundance are one of those things that I'm not shy about anymore. That's something that's the plan. That's what we're going for. So yes, ma'am, where the money resides, we'll be
Listen,
there.
I aspire to be there as well. It's interesting that you said that about unapologetically. I was listening to Kiera Sheard had a portion of that in one of her songs. And then someone else had mentioned, I'm going to stop apologizing for the great things that God is doing in my life. And I thought I just had to sit there for a second, and I said, "Ooh,
that's major."
We do that. Not all, right? But I think some of us, we've been taught kind of, oh no, don't say it, don't. But it's a fine balance and a fine line between being braggadocious and being intentionally grateful for what God has done in your life and sharing that with someone else. So,
and it is interesting that you say braggadocious, because, and let me know, I've been on vacation for a few weeks while I'm zenning out. So let me know if I'm too far out there, right? But I feel like it's almost arrogant to not. I feel like it is arrogant to not be walking completely in the blessings that have been bestowed upon you. So if I'm in a position where I've got an amazing new job as someone who historically is too young to have that job,
Yeah.
or, if I'm excelling in education or I feel like my family is doing well. I'm not saying, pin it to everybody's face, right?
Right.
But to not be able to be vocal about taking pride in that and accepting that for yourself, I feel like you end up blocking blessings, because it's like if
Oh,
you can't
yes.
handle here, then like
Yes.
it's no up. Like, why would we
This
go
is
up?
true. This is true. Why go higher when you're not when you're showing either discontent or unappreciation,
Absolutely.
right? So, oh, that's good.
Or
Okay.
fear, right? Fear
Fear.
is one.
Yes, fear. Oh God, those four letters, that one word can do it. I mean, just those letters individually, those two vowels and two consonants are fine on their
Hmm.
own, right? But
It's
you
the
put them
other four-letter words.
when you put them together, you be like, oh man.
Right.
So, but thank you, and I appreciate you joining us tonight. And I asked you, how would you title your life, for us to have this conversation for the next, 40 some odd minutes. And you said the marathon continues, so we're rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle, of
Yeah.
course, Nip the Great. Tell me what marathon continues means for you. What is the marathon continues for you? What does that mean for you?
I have always been an overachiever, right? So historically, from the beginning of time, that's been who I am. Skipped kindergarten, went straight to the first grade. Always, right? Knew how to read by the time I was 3. My husband believed that for some reason, but it's a fact. Ask my mama. We got receipts. But it, I say that all to say that I'm one who is always chasing a goal, right? But the marathon for me, it used to be that goal achievement piece, and that being hyper driven to do the next thing and do the next thing and do the next thing. But in this season of my life, it has completely reformatted itself. So the marathon right now is not necessarily about the crossing the finish line, right?
Mm.
It's about how you perform in every step of the journey.
Wow.
So where I used to be extremely macro in my vision for myself and my community and my employer, and everything was about just fighting a good fight all the time, every day in every way for the bigger picture. Now I'm wondering and sitting in consideration of the small things.
Mm.
So for me, that looks like creating discipline in all areas of my life. So what's your morning routine look like? What time do you cook dinner every day? Do you make sure you put gas in your car at night? You're going to be running late in the morning. Know thyself, right? And so the marathon is no longer about the 26 miles, right? It's the small series of sprints that get you from mile 1 to mile 2. And as I look back on my life, and my journey, it's always been about that. I was just always running so hard that I never stopped to notice. Like the days are long, but the years are short. Um, my 2-year-old is outside my door having a long day as we speak.
I
So,
hear it. She's like, hey, what you doing? You said you was off work. Hello.
exactly. No, I told my kids I had a meeting. They're like, meeting? They were appalled.
No.
They're like, you don't do that anymore. I've been off for 1 week.
Right. They was like, no, it's on the calendar, Mom. Not till this day. You
Right?
read the calendar.
Meetings are over, ma'am. Like, what do you mean? But
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's the bag that I'm in right now. This series of sprints. And everyone's sprint is different and every day is different. So maybe, the sprint on Friday is how can we figure out this thing that's going to build generational wealth. But on Saturday, the sprint is those same kids are having a meltdown. How do I get through the next hour? Um, so we could make it to the generational wealth without somebody in here, not making it. So
Yeah, that's good.
yeah.
Henrietta saying, that we're speaking her language right now, that that she's running her sprints, but successful with life challenges. And that's huge. You
Hmm.
know, um, I'm just sitting back and thinking what you said first about let's just talk about learning how to read at 3. We'll come back.
No.
Look,
I take no credit for that. I had a really good preschool. I had really dedicated parents. My parents were 18 and 19 when I was born, so I had teen parents. We lived in inner city LA, so it was all these things that they could have used to be excuses for, not pouring into their kid. But both my mom and dad were both super committed to making sure that, nobody could say they didn't do right by their kids.
yeah.
So all credit to them on that.
I mean, that's a blessing even there, just breaking the cycle, right? Because, okay, let me calm down because I feel like, ooh, but
Sprints. We're doing sprints.
like sprints, but like you said, feeling like you were always at a macro level, right? Always for the greater good. And I'm the type of person, and you've been exposed to me for about a year or so, but our bonds seem to be very, very cohesive very early. Like it was just like, girl, this is.
I just want y'all to know, not to cut you off, but Camille is my favorite person that I've never met in person. I have no idea how tall you are. If I run into you at Costco one day and you like 6'5", I'm a faint. But
no, you don't have to worry about that. I'm 5'9". Wait, but the funny thing is when you got up to go, I was like, I don't think I've ever seen her legs. She has legs. Look at that. I never knew.
I do have legs.
But it's one of those things where I had to examine myself like, okay, maybe that's why, things become so large and overwhelming because you're always looking from a bigger picture perspective. Mm-hmm. But when you start bringing it down, because I think that's right, like anxiety is very common when you're thinking about things that you have no control over.
Amen.
But when you bring it in and kind of start, let's narrow down to the common denominator, or let's figure out, now that is more workable. What you said was your morning routine, asking you, I'm guilty, sis.
And listen, I'm not saying it's perfect. Okay. Sprints. I'm not saying, I'm not saying I'm on point every day, but, what was transformative for me, I actually joined this program online that is run by, let me get this sister's name because she's amazing. And I love to give folks credit for their work.
Absolutely.
Chantel Taylor. Her name is Chantel Taylor. You can find her on Instagram at Chantel Taylor with a SH. And her whole thing is nutrition. She's a licensed dietitian, young Black woman, beautiful family. And I wanted this thing with discipline, right? So I'm not in a space where I want to lose weight in particular or anything else, but I want to be at my healthiest. I want to feel great, feel amazing. And so I'm scrolling on the gram like we do, right? And you have the whole like comparison thief of joy thing going on, and I'm like, oh Lord. And then I came across her page just on Explore at random, and this girl is talking about you could hit all of your fitness goals if you just had a morning routine. I said, scam, like lies before God, honey. Kept going. So then she popped up again, and she popped up again, and she popped up again, and I was like, okay, I am very critical of influencer culture. I think social media has done a world of good. Mm-hmm. I think people have amazing platforms and do amazing things, but there are some things out there that are very, very toxic, that I try to shield myself from, right? So I'm a scroller, like, you're not gonna influence me, like, and I know that's fake, but whatever. So I kept coming across this woman. And finally, I was like, let me just, she on live. I don't even watch lives, whatever. I'm in a good mood. Let's see what she's talking about. And I was shook. And her whole morning routine. And she has a plethora of other information that, you get access to if you choose to be involved with her. But that really stood out to me because she was like, this is for everybody. This is for folks with kids. This is for folks who work the night shift. Like, it doesn't matter if your morning is 8 p.m. Like, right. Whatever your life looks like, when you wake up, you need a routine. You need to get yourself in order, and then that will determine the rest of your day. It's a real thing.
Yeah, I'm while you talk, I'm like, okay, I pray in the morning. I have that as my routine, but I'm like, okay, pray, get ready for work. I feel like there could have been a little bit more. You always start to ask yourself, what could I do a little bit more of or less of?
Right, right.
And this is why I appreciate your title tonight being the marathon continues, because I think too many of us feel like we're running a race that has a quick finish.
Mm-hmm.
And unless the Lord changes our date. I mean, He won't change our date, but I'm just saying, Lord says something different. I was like, no, He doesn't do that. He
Please,
doesn't be
Lord,
like,
don't
no,
change my
he don't
date.
be like, you know what? I just thought about it. I don't like the
Whatever
way she
day
did
I
her makeup.
decide, I'm good with my date, Lord.
No,
Just keep me the
no. The
same.
problem is I've been watching Manifest, and I was like,
Oh Lord, that'll do
but
it.
nevertheless, if the Lord doesn't do something different, I mean, that we know of, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we don't know where our date is anyway, but the time that we have to be intentional with that.
Yes.
Um, Henrietta's saying if you could drop her name so she can look her up, that would be great. And you should be able to put it, type it in the chat, sis, on your side where it says
Okay.
type a message, and you can drop that in there so we can definitely check her out because I want to do that. But let's talk more about your life as, I mean, mogul. I'm just going to call it what it is. You are a mogul.
I hope
Okay.
so.
All right.
Genuinely.
You are a mogul. You are an influencer. You are you're all of that, right? Um, how do you balance wife, mom, now employer, overseeing a huge division, right? How do you process all of that? How does Asia manage? And not to mention, you are one of them devastating divas of DST, So,
Already. I decided really early that I could have it all,
mm,
but not.
mm,
So for me, I know it's cliche right now to say that you live your life in balance, right?
yeah,
But for me, that meant slowing myself down. So it's a sprint, right? But now we're jogging. Okay. And we're jogging for good cause. I want to be able to go to my daughter's Christmas program. So maybe I'm not working extra hours that I could be working to get ahead. Um, maybe that looks like I'm taking a vacation with my husband instead of whatever other thing I could be doing, presenting research at school or something like that. Balance, right? So you can have everything that you want to have. You just have to figure out
mm,
what means the most to you. So what do you prioritize? So for me, it's family above everything else.
yeah,
So if I'm an amazing career path, an amazing job that's jeopardizing my family, I have to get a new job. Um, and once you've kind of made those decisions for yourself, and it looks different for everyone, there's no right answer, right, to what the most important thing is. For some folks, it is career, and that's great. Everybody ain't able, right? But once you've made that decision, then it's easy for you in the day to day to kind of sort through like what has the most leverage in your life, what's the most important. Oh, 2 year olds,
she done broke in.
has broken through the barricade and closed the door behind. You guys are gonna meet my 2 year old in a bit.
No worries.
Um, but yeah, don't judge her. She had a long day at school. Hair
No,
out there,
it's right.
living her best
She's
life.
welcome. She's
You see
welcome
my
here. Hi, honey. Honey, she's part of the marathon, so hey.
I don't know how she got it. But
That's
yeah,
that's not going to end well.
so it'll be all right. But yeah, it's just all about making decisions and being able to do a cost analysis and honest cost analysis of your own
Mm,
life. If being with your family or being at your job or being at your church or volunteering with your organization, if those are the things that fuel you, then what are you willing to compromise so that you can do those things as much as you need to? What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to add on? Because sometimes being able to do the things you want to do looks like adding on more responsibility to fund the vision, or whatever it may be. Let me know when I'm rambling.
No, I'm hearing it because I'm like I'm taking it in because you said a real cost analysis, and I was just like, yeah, I don't think we always weigh that out fully.
Not honestly,
Right.
because even for myself, there have been goals that look really great on paper,
Hmm.
right? That are like, ascend to whatever career level by this age, and have your kids at this age after you're married for this many years, and life doesn't always do
No.
that.
No.
Right? So then you have to do an honest reassessment and really say, but sis, do you care? Like,
Mm.
yeah, like, do you actually, or is this just stuff that folks have put on you?
Mm.
um and
What's
told
the focus for you?
Right. So you have to be able to differentiate what folks have spoken onto your life because of their own dreams or anxieties or whatever, because it could go both ways. Even when, folks are speaking love, it's not always the love that you need, right? So being able to look at it and say, no, actually, I don't care about this. This was on sale. I picked it up, and we don't got to keep it. Like, it could go.
Right.
So, and
Right.
then once you've decided that, it helps. It doesn't always make everything. It helps. You
That's
have
good.
goalposts.
So, learned to read at age 3.
Oh Lord.
Graduated from Harvard at age 4. I don't.
Not that. No.
So what? So the life of Asia Brown. How did we get here
um.
in your journey? What has been some of those um, steps to get you where you are? Like what has been? What does it look like? You got to fill me in because I came in 2020, so I need all of from 19 whatever. Fill me in.
I
Fill me
see I slipped that in there, try to get me to confirm which section of the '90s I came from. We're gonna hop right over
in.
that. So education is always something that I'm really passionate about it. It's been a constant in my life. I told you I went to great preschool. I want to encourage everyone who has a small child or toddler or someone who's approaching their preschool years, really, as much as you're able, consider what schools that they go to and what values they're instilling in them. I was blessed to go to a Black owned preschool where every morning we did the Pledge of Allegiance and lift every voice and sing.
Wow.
Um, every day. Black History Month was every day. We had role models every day. We were in a community that affirmed us and valued us,
That's good.
and loved us. So I was always, whether it was in my household, in my family, at school, I was affirmed. Which is really important as you're trying to figure out who you are, right? So the education thing has been big. Um, Elementary school, middle school, high school. I went away to undergrad at Arizona State University, where I pledged out to Sigma Theta, the illustrious Iota Kappa chapter. Shout out to my sorors. But I did my master's there as well. So I got my bachelor's degrees in sociology and political science. So it's a double major. Got my master's in sociology. And now I'm wrapping up my doctorate at USC. So I'm in the final stages of dissertation writing for my Doctor of Education in Educational Leadership. My current sprint, getting to the end of
Yes.
that. And it's a little bit scary too, but I'll talk about why in a minute. So when I was making the transition from high school to college, I was in a space where I wasn't doing my best. Um, I was a teenager. I was going through stuff. I had been smart or labeled smart all my life, so I thought school was pretty easy. So I was the kid who like wouldn't do the homework, but would get an A on the test, just kind of cruising, right? Um, and so when it got time to apply to college, I had gotten behind. I didn't have enough credits to graduate on time. I had to go to college and do night classes and hustle and run full speed so I could be graduating with my class. I had to take a zero period up at 6 a.m. at the high school at 6 a.m., not, on my, like there in a seat at 6 a.m., just to graduate on time. So it wasn't always perfect. I just like put an exclamation point on that. So when it was time to apply, I wasn't competitive. I was an average student. Like I was lucky enough to have gotten grades that were okay, right? I wasn't failing or anything like that, but I wasn't doing my best. And so I went to a college fair and I'm super discouraged because every school is like, no, no, no. And then finally I met this gentleman at the ASU, Arizona State table. And he said, if you want to go to college, we have a place for you here. And I was like, sir, let me show you my transcript because all these other people have said, no, 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 right? He's like, no, no, no. He's like, no, they, at the time, I don't know if it still is, but they operated under what was called the New American University model. So they felt that they strengthened their university by who they included rather than who they excluded.
Wow.
As an administrator now, I would say that was like an ingenious marketing plan enrollment at all costs, but it worked for me. I firmly believe in giving students a chance to fail if that's what they're going to do, right? But everybody deserves that chance to chase whatever they're chasing. So I got a chance there. I went there. I thrived. Um, I met the love of my life while I was out there. Walked into my living room, then became my husband. There's more to that. But it just everything kind of serendipitously went the way it should go. But part of that plan, right, that I've always had for my life was immediately after you do your undergrad, you need to do your master's. That didn't happen. I had like a $16,000 balance with ASU that I had to pay off before they would release my transcript for me to even apply to graduate school. And I wasn't living where the money resides, fresh off. So I had to work like all these stupid jobs that I wouldn't wish on nobody, to get my money up and pay that off and apply to grad school. By the time I finally did apply, I was 8 months pregnant with my first daughter, putting in this application. And I'm thinking, this is crazy, but I have to do it now. Like I have to do it now because, I want to be done with it by the time she's X age. And see, I'm putting those things on myself that aren't really important, right? But that I'm carrying now. So I have all of these fake deadlines because who's going to check you? Like, who's going to say you didn't have masters by the time your daughter was X age? No one. Me, I guess. I don't know. Crazy.
Right.
I did it, got through that. Got married after that. That was another way that, life kind of worked in a different way. No regrets at all. I have a fabulous husband, fabulous daughter. And then I don't even remember what happened. It's all a blur. And this is a part of why you have to slow it down, right? Because you miss so much of your own journey, putting things on yourself that you didn't have to carry. So you're so focused on pushing it through to the goal and getting it done and getting it done and getting it done that there are moments that you miss even when you're in achievement. So even though, I say like, oh, I was pregnant and then I got into this program and I did my master's and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I don't know what it felt like when I got in because I was already thinking about homework. I don't remember what it felt like when I got my first A because I was already worried about the next class and so on and so on and so on and so on. So you have to kind of live in the moment. But long story less long, fast forward a while, I figured out before this master's program that higher education was my bag. I am a big believer in higher ed and access to higher ed and equity in higher ed because of my own journey. I was the first one to go off to school, go off to the 4-year. It was always on the plan for me to go to college, but no one knew how or like what to do when I got there, how we were going to pay for it, or any of the things you actually need to know. to be successful. And so for me, it was a very trial and error experience. And I'm lucky that the errors weren't so that they became the trials.
Mhm.
Um, but
That's
I,
good.
I somehow make it, right? I somehow graduate. I somehow get a master's while having kids and getting married. And then I get in this doctoral program and they say, if you're going to be in this program, don't get a new job, don't plan a wedding, don't have any new kids, don't. And so I planned a wedding, got pregnant, changed my job because, always moving, right?
Right.
And so now I'm at the end of that education journey, and I'm in a space where my 10-year plan is done.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all the goals that I've had from home ownership, etc., personal, financial, whatever, the boxes have been checked. And so when you've been sprinting so hard that you haven't those moments, it can be a
Yeah.
little bit scary to be at this point. So that's why I'm in this whole discipline. Like I told you, I'm zenning out. I'm like reorganizing my whole life and trying to figure out what this next chapter looks like.
Yeah.
What's the next plan? Is the thing.
When you said all of that about not being able to embrace what that A felt like, and I remember hearing my therapist when they do like EMDR, I believe it is, they when they try to relax your mind and they ask you, what do you smell, what do you hear, what do you,
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to tap into your senses, right? And oftentimes, because we're always producing, I
Mm-hmm.
think as women of color, it's imperative because we know that there's societal frustrations, right? Or even prejudice or stereotypes that we're always competing against.
Yeah.
So we're trying to just look our best, be our best, do, right? Um, and not enough of pause, breathe. What are you smelling? What are you hearing? What are you feeling? Like I remember going on vacation to Hawaii in 2007, and it felt like I hadn't made it. I was like, what? And it was bonus pay time around that time too. I was like, you can't tell me nothing. But I remember standing on the balcony and feeling the sun.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's those moments,
Mm-hmm.
feeling the sun.
Get outside. The sun
Yeah.
is so important. The sun is so important.
You know, feeling the rays. And then, it's even, going, I think back to just recently being ill and getting out of the hospital for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
what that felt like,
Mm-hmm.
and just the smell of my dad's car, like I feel that at some point we have to, God, I believe it's like a God designed timeout for him to be like, I need you to stop for a moment and enjoy life.
For sure.
You're producing so you can have a good life. That's great. But I want you to prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. Like I want you to be well rounded. I want you to be healed. I want you to be full and experience that. And I think where you are mentally and how God has blessed you through your journey, now these girls can have a whole mother.
Mm-hmm.
Your husband can have a whole wife that is fully aware of senses and everything else.
Yeah. And
That's huge.
it's major. And the most important part of the sprint, of the marathon, is also the most underrated, is the rest and recovery.
Yes.
Um, because you can't run fast, you can't achieve, you can't be at a high level of performance if you're not recovering.
Yeah.
Um, and that could mean a lot of things. That's our mental health. That is being honest with yourself about trauma that you haven't healed from, um, and what that is doing to your life, right? Like
Mhm.
how that trauma is functioning in your life. That looks like taking a damn nap.
Right.
Like these kids will be okay for an hour. Take a nap, mom. Like It's gonna be okay. Um, and not being afraid to accept help as
Mm,
a Black woman, as women of color, especially, the whole mythical strong Black woman
mm,
is something that we're taught all of our lives.
mm.
And how can you pour from an empty cup? How can you take care of everyone without taking care of yourself? How many matriarchs have we seen fall to things like heart disease and diabetes and complications from sickle cell and things that, if, and obviously this isn't an across the board assumption, this is a generalization, but how different may those endings have been if rest and recovery was as valued as strength.
Mm.
And
Huge.
and maybe, and this is again is in and out, right?
Mm.
But maybe rest and recovery is even more valuable than strength. It gives you the ability to continue to be strong,
Mm.
right? So if we just reorient ourselves to love ourselves as much as we love everyone around us and say, I can't help y'all till I've had a 36-hour break from this family, then, then what does that show our kids?
Yeah.
It's not. I think that we're all so afraid of dropping the ball and of
Mm.
abandoning it and of all of these things, but I really believe that it might boil down to we're afraid that folks won't value us
Come on. You're talking about.
unless we've sacrificed everything,
Come on.
right?
Yeah.
So you have to know, and maybe it starts off as a really small voice like, girl, take the nap. They're gonna be okay. Go to Target, do whatever, whatever that looks
Turn
like
your
for
phone
you.
off. Don't answer that call.
And do not disturb,
Yeah.
blocked. Sometimes you block. Um, and maybe that little bit of peace, right? Grows and grows and grows until the peace is what you value rather than the sacrifice. Because I don't think that love and sacrifice have to be as webbed as we make them. um you should be able to be your full self everywhere. How can
Yeah.
you do that without rest?
I'm, oh, okay. Because I get so excited, but I want to go. What I'm working on is going in order and making sure that I am being cohesive with my thought on the show. But every now and then I'll be like, just lose all of that, right? But one of the things Henrietta said in the comments that that's something that she is, she's being challenged with regarding rest and recovery, and taking care of two boys. One that has had health issues and is an amazing, gifted young man. Both her boys are great. So, what can you say? I know you mentioned about taking the rest of maybe taking a nap or turning the phone off. What is something as a working mom,
Mhm.
but one who is in home working with her children? What can we say to those kind of women right now that might be listening, might be watching, or even maybe their son or daughters are tuning in, and it's something that they can take back to their mom? What is something that you would recommend for it? When you said a routine, what would that routine, if you could just break up a routine for them, what would that look like?
Yeah. I will totally share like what that looks like for us.
Mm.
But before we get to that, what you said about her sons really, really spoke to me. My family has been going through a trial. This is not something that I talk about a lot, but I think that it's important. The youngest that you met on camera, the 2-year-old, um, she had about 8 months ago, she had a really scary episode where her whole body turned blue, just kind of out of the blue. We had to call 911. Her dad and I didn't know what was happening. She wasn't breathing, she wasn't responsive. Um, and then by the time the paramedics came, she was fine. She was giving them all high fives. And so we went through different versions of that, right? With what we later found out was her having seizures, and not being able to breathe, and having these crazy, scary medical mystery experiences for the better part of the past year, until we finally got a diagnosis. It said that she has a form of childhood epilepsy that she should grow out of. We pray. And we haven't had to medicate her, and it has calmed down. But I say all this to say I share that because in that sprint, that was something that I felt like I couldn't handle.
Yeah.
Um, as a mother, a Black mother, which is important in the healthcare system, trying to advocate for a child who can't describe their symptoms, who is totally dependent on me to be her voice, um, and who has no answers, and I have no medical training, and I have to trust these people that I don't trust to give me the best information possible for my daughter, and fight at every turn just to get appointments scheduled, just to get things answered. And life is still happening. So I still have an older child. I'm still in a marriage. I still have family. I still have work. I still have school. Um, but I'm carrying this thing, right? With my baby, the time is fine and looks perfectly healthy and normal and happy. Um, and then there was finally her last really bad episode happened when I was by myself with her, and it was just her and I in the house, and she collapsed, and like I kid you not, like it looked like my daughter was dead. um and there was nothing that I could do for mom, and it all kind of fell on me then. After that, like I called my husband. I got her, she was fine, she came to, got on with the doctors, did everything that is in the plan to do. um and I called my husband and I said, baby, it looked like she died. Like, I was like traumatized. And so what was important in that moment was getting her through, obviously, but later for me, as a mom and just as a human being, I had to admit that this this had been painful for me.
Yeah.
Um, and I had to cry out to my own mom and say, mommy, what's wrong with my baby? Like, and why can't I figure that out? And she's able to say, the doctor, but we're gonna figure this out, and this is what we're gonna do. And and but that was a big step for me to accept that help and that care, and to even admit to myself that I was tired. I was overwhelmed. Overwhelmed is not a word I will use to describe myself ever. Like,
Yeah.
if Rome is burning, I'm making s'mores. Like, I'm that guy. But it felt like more than I can bear. But we know we never get more than we could bear, right? So that was a double-edged sword for me, because it's like, okay, this feels like more than I can bear, but we never get more than you can bear. So why can't you just handle it? And it was because I need to lean into my village, and I need to accept within myself that I'm sad and I'm mad and I want to fight everybody at Kaiser Permanente. But also I can't, because I don't want to be the crazy Black woman. And so they stopped listening to me. And so there's all these things, and I was just holding on to them and trying to carry them and carry my baby, and I couldn't. You couldn't do both. Um, and so discipline. It comes back to the discipline, and that authentic cost analysis, right? Like, what is being worried, whelmed, and not talking to anybody about this, not even my husband, because I didn't even want to admit to him how worried about her I was. Um, so once I released that and stopped being the strong one, right, it felt like something we could figure out. And then, I don't know if this is a God thing or what, but after I had that come to Jesus with self, we got a diagnosis a couple weeks later. Um, because I had clarity about how I had to fight this battle once I released the anxiety and the feelings and the emotions and all those things, right? So all of the negative that I was carrying. Um, but routine, right? So I just wanted to put that out there, because if whenever you're going through something with a family member that you love, or your child or even your own health, um, it's very easy to spiral into anxiety and overwhelm. And I start writing my will in my head when I get a migraine. Like, okay, so I get it, but in those moments, you have to figure out who loves you authentically and
Yeah.
who can you go to, who can you trust with yourself,
Yeah.
um, person, because that's what they're there for. Don't be arrogant, because it's arrogant to think that you can carry it all on your own.
Come
Um,
on. That's good.
but back to like the micro, right?
Mhm.
So for me, what I've been trying to do is wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm nobody's morning person. So this is a challenge to self to
Mhm.
do something new and to evolve. So we're doing 5 a.m.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's 6 6, but we're doing and I do a couple things. I usually have them on my day. Oh, there we go. So the first thing that I do every morning or try to remember is this 2 minutes of gratitude,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah.
So
Good one.
it's literally just a journal, a blank journal of really quick prompts. So you write the date and then it says, I will let go of. You finish the sentence, I'm grateful for. You finish the sentence, this on. You pick three things, you close it, you move on with your day. Get centered. Um, After that, I usually read something because I'm a big reader. That's what I love to do. Right. This professional troublemaker fear
Okay.
fighter manual. You see,
Mhm.
my daughter has been reading it a little bit too. Uh, that this has been speaking life into me. It's written by Olivia Jai Jones. She's amazing,
Oh
fantastic,
yeah.
powerhouse Black woman. Yeah, she also wrote a book
Yeah.
called "I'm Judging You" that was
Yes.
phenomenal as well. Yeah, so professional troublemaker. Get that, it's gonna snatch your wig right off your head.
Come on.
Get
Okay.
you. But if it's not that, sometimes I read something for fun. Something just to take like 15, 20, 30 minutes for me. So that 5 to 6 hour, I usually try to put goals on it and say, these are things I want to do by myself in this day. So I'll make a cup of coffee, do my little 2 minutes of gratitude, and then I spend the rest of that 55 minutes doing whatever I please. And sometimes that looks like just laying on the couch and
Right.
scrolling through the Instagram. And that's not my most effective powerhouse morning, right? But so that's what my body and mind need.
That's true.
So that's what I do. Get the kids up around 6:15. Get them dressed, ready to roll, hair combed. Hair combing is a haze. If anybody has strategy for getting two toddlers with their out of the door,
Girl, let's put a wig on them. This.
then I'm gonna be going viral. She taking her kindergartner to school in a lace front. Cause it gotta be a lace front, baby.
You know,
Can't do
all
it
the way, all
halfway.
the way.
Can't do it halfway. I could too. She would, my kindergartner. But yeah, we get the kids to school, and then right now, as I'm waiting to start a new position out of an old position, I just kind of arrange my day based on whatever needs to happen. Stuff in the home, stuff at school, self help on this DIY kick. I keep wall stuff. My poor husband. But yeah, but the timestamps will look different, the activities will look different, but if you can take, even if it's just the first 30 minutes of your day
Mhm.
to just be with yourself and figure out what you want out of this day and what you're grateful for and what you're happy about today, even when it's hard to do that, it does something to you, at least for the first 3 hours, right? Then you might get to work and all hell break loose. We don't know. But at
Right.
least you can look
That
back
moment.
when you go to sleep and said, 5:15 to 5 was popping. Like the rest of it.
Those
That
15 minutes
little
were everything.
everything. And sometimes you just need a little bit of everything to get you through the rest. And
That's true.
so I would just recommend really sitting down
Mhm.
with whoever's in your household, right? So whether it's your partner, if you're single, with self, with whoever you live, whatever makes sense for your situation. And figuring out the goals of the morning. Like, we know we need to get the kids dressed. We know they need lunches. We know they have 150 million things that the teachers require in the backpack. How can we organize ourselves so that this is easier and stick to that? We've recently gotten really committed to doing that, and it's made a world of difference. Stress is lower in the morning. No one's crying, not even me. Like, it's fine. I don't know if you've ever tried to comb out hair at 6:30 a.m. but
Right.
I'm somebody who don't want hair combed, but sometimes you just one thug tear, just a little bit.
I understand that.
But
But
yeah,
and we're getting close to our time, and it's always been a pleasure talking to you, my sis. And I'm grateful that I actually have a relationship with you that I can call and we can text. And
yes,
I mean, let's be honest, our tech chats, our texts back when we would be sitting in some of these meetings.
Don't put us on blast. What do
I'm
you
just
mean? We
saying,
have
like,
monitoring
it
meetings.
kept me
We're
coming
consummate
to the
professionals.
meetings. I said,
That's
oh
a
wait,
that's a real thing. When you're in a marathon,
it is
5K, whatever, there's always by the sideline handing out water, pretzels. I ran a marathon in real life. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. Very ghetto. Unless you're into that, then amen. But it wasn't for me. I
right.
finished it though. And they're helpers all along the way. And I think you have to find your helpers. And I'm happy that we found each other because you have
Absolutely.
definitely helped me through as well. I know there have been times where I texted you like, I quit. Today I quit.
But I'm like, no, you don't. Or take me with you. Like, is it a 2 for 1? Is there a two? No, but you're right where you're talking about helpers because I'm always gonna go Bible, but we are to be helpers one to another. And
Mm,
I don't think people really fully grasp what that means to help one another. What a couple things that you mentioned about, and even Denise, soon to be Dr. Roberts, Denise Roberts, she commented of watching YouTube. She was saying that the point of rejuvenating and resting. And when you mentioned about sometimes we don't want people to see us weak,
mm-hmm.
or I want them to be able to count on me. I want them to be able to know that I'm there. And then we have to remember only one that's always there is Jesus.
Amen.
We're not always here because that's why these mortuaries keep making all this money because we're not always here.
And ain't nobody trying to kill you, sis. We don't want that on our
No,
conscience. Like,
exactly. But see,
remember.
it's so interesting because this is where my takeaway is in our conversation from tonight, and it's bringing me back to a place of understanding. Wait a minute, Camille, you're not the savior of anything.
Hmm.
Your job is to savor what the Savior has given. That's it.
That's a bar.
I felt it when it came out. I said, "Oh God!" But we're to savor and stripping off that mentality of having to save the day, having to be the one that makes it right, having stop all that.
And why only you, though? Because you see what I mean about the ego and the arrogance, how it
It
creeps in
is.
where you
You're
think you're
right.
doing good. It's like you're the
You're
only
right.
superwoman on this earth.
Right.
Like, what do we have? 8 billion, something like that. Only you
Yeah.
can ever handle these things. It's
I blame Smokey the
yeah.
Bear for that because he said only you can prevent forest fires. Remember that? Remember he told us that? I
Don't
I
put it
I
on Smokey the Bear. He saved so
I
many
blame
lives.
him.
You're not gonna run him down. No,
You
we're
know,
not gonna run Smokey low.
and see, but see, that's and Denise, I appreciate you feeling that because I feel that in my soul. It's going to be a post in a few minutes from the takeaway from tonight. But when I tell you savor, and that's I was talking to a cousin of mine, and I was we were sharing some things, and I was telling her when I think back when they say think of something good. What are you mentioned about what are you grateful for? I lately have been telling God, I thank you for flavor. Like I don't know if we really tell him thank you. Like onions and garlic, fam. Like have you? Can you
Come
enjoy
on.
a meal without the two of them? No. you know. I'm just flavor, right? But understanding, God, thank you for what you have done. And then savoring the moments. Like I spend time with my mom and dad, and I love but I'm learning to savor those moments
Yeah.
because it's not guaranteed that either one of us might have that next year, 10 years, 15 years, 30. We don't know. Savor. And
Mm.
so, like you said, take the arrogance off of it. Take the Yeezy effect that it gotta be you. I mean, let's just be honest. That's what he doing out here.
I don't speak on that man. There's some things going on that I don't
He's
want
like, I don't stand
my
beside him.
spirit.
That's not my man. I don't know him. But I in a real way though, removing that complex of feeling like it's only you. And you hit it on the head when you said it's arrogant. And when you said it earlier in the show, I was like, oh, oh. Because when we talk about humility, if we're not doing it in the right motives, it will be arrogance.
Hmm.
If we're not being authentic and genuine, it is pride. It is ego. Oh, shoot. We have a mess on our hands.
Hmm.
And so if no one else from tonight has weighed in, or even, even as you're watching maybe the replay, if this conversation about the marathon continues of us running our sprints, if you haven't taken away the jewels that my sister Aysia has been sharing since she's been on here, and the conversation between the two of us, one, these are sprints, but you better step back and look from a micro perspective versus macro. Get into the details of things. Set out time for yourself. Remember that you are not the savior. Your job is to savor what the savior has already done. And last but certainly not least, have a real cost analysis in your own life. What is benefiting and what is a benefit and what is a liability, asset or a liability, and
Yeah.
really examine that. And that's good. Since I'm really want to do something with the couple, so I need to have you and your husband come back, and we at some point. But I appreciate you stopping by tonight. Like, huge. I am so grateful to have met you virtually, still pending face to face.
We're gonna get there. COVID held constant. We're gonna get through this. Thank you for
Yeah.
creating the platform, for creating a space where we could all be together. Thank you to everybody in the comments for listening to me rant and rave and ramble. I appreciate y'all for taking this ride with me. I have a grandfather. My great grandfather. He is 97.
Oh, come on
Um,
right there.
and we recently interviewed him because I wanted the story of his life on tape. So we did that. And I said, Grandpa, what do you want us to remember about you? What is something that you ever wanted? What do you want us to know one day when you're gone? And he said, remember me exactly as I am because I feel the best that I've ever felt right now in this moment. And I just want to leave y'all with that. Tomorrow's promise, remember me as I am. It's been a great pleasure, Camille.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sis. I love you. I love you. To all of the guests that and family and friends who tuned in tonight. We love to hear from you. So if you would like to be on the show and sit in this seat, make sure you email behealedintl@gmail.com. And when you're ready to share your story, be happy to work with you. But until next time, the same bat time, same Be Healed channel, same Be Healed time at 7 p.m. live on Facebook and YouTube. May you be blessed. May you be prosperous, but most importantly, be healed. For, listen, it's a whole lot of things going on in this world, but be safe, right? But also make sure that you be present in the moments with your family, your friends, and your life. Be present. It's important for us to be present and to savor these moments. And so thank you, sis. God bless you. May God keep you. Hang out with me for a little bit, sis, if you don't mind. But I'm going to distance everybody else out. All right. Love y'all. Good night.